I poured all these items today, and there's a video on me pouring those, and I thought I'd take a second just to show you the tools that I use to pour aluminum. Almost every one of them is homemade. They might all be homemade, actually. So just to kind of give you an idea, if you're looking to get into this hobby or already doing it, might give you some ideas and some ways that you can get into it for a lot less money than if you were to purchase everything. Let's start with my furnace, and this is, I made this, oh gosh, probably almost 20 years ago, or more actually now. And this is one of those, it's a alumina casting. I don't actually remember what it was, to be honest with you, but there's a lot of people out there on the internet now that can show you how to make furnaces. And this is what I use for a crucible, which I made this out of a piece of 6-inch steel pipe. Just welded a bottom on it, put some lugs on it in order to pick it up. This is what I manipulate it with. I made these from some 1/4-inch rebar. You can watch my videos on pouring aluminum. You'll see how I manipulate that with these. Now also, this is what I skim with. It's just a stainless steel spoon that I got. I think I got it at Sam's, and I welded it to a piece of conduit. This is my stir rod. It's a piece of 1/4-inch rebar. This is what I mix in my flux and my degasser with. It's just a steel rod, and I weld it on. This is a piece of stainless steel that I just actually drilled the holes and beat it out and all that. But if I made another one today, I would take this spoon and cut the handle off and just weld the end of that spoon to the end of it, like that. And that works really well for stirring it down in there. And if you want to see how that works, look at some of my videos on pouring, and you'll see how I stir with that. This is my molding bench. I made it out of an old dryer. That's what the, well, let me get around here. It's kind of tight in here, but that's what the sides are and the inside. And then I lined it just with some sheet metal here. So it goes down about that far. These hold my my flasks up while I'm working on them. This is a scoop that I made years ago. There's a video out there on how I did that. I really like this. It does a great job. This is a rammer that I made up. There's a video on that. This is what I use to cut the sand off the top. It's just a piece of 1/8-inch by 1-inch steel that I had laying around. And this is actually a 2x2 that I use quite a bit because sometimes this is too big to get around things and you need something smaller. I also use broom handles, just depending on what I'm using. And it's got a lid that comes down on it, and this just keeps the sand from falling down in that backside. Now I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm just going to go through these real quickly. If you want to see me using them, just look at my videos on pouring aluminum and you'll see that. Okay, so flasks. If you're like me, I use Petrobond sand, and you know I don't have an unlimited budget, so I can't use just unlimited amounts of sand. So I need flasks that kind of fit the job. So this is some that I made just recently out of OSB. I needed something really quick, and I thought, well, I'll try them. If they only last one time, that'll be great. But I made 3 of these, and these have actually wound up being one of my favorites. They're a good depth. They're probably about 3 inches deep, and I don't know what that is, probably 8 by 8 or something like that, and or 7 or 8. And so you can make them out of cheap materials. I've been using these for quite a while, and they're holding up just fine. Be sure you get your lugs on there nice and tight, so that when you put them back together, that you get a nice tight lock, so that things aren't shifting around and shifting your pattern off to one side. But you can see I numbered them all, so that I know when I get them back together that they'll match up the sides and like that. This is one of the very first ones I made over 20 years ago, and it is just about beat up. It's got, I put grooves in here because people always said you had to have grooves to hold the sand in. I haven't found that to be true. I actually don't like the grooves in there because it holds the sand after I knock it out, and I haven't seen the need for it in the other ones. This is just a board that I use, you know, when I'm transferring stuff to keep the sand from falling out the bottom. Or usually you need it for bigger ones, but again, if you want to see how I use that, you can look at my videos. And there's just a couple of pieces of wood attached to the bottom. This is a riddle. This is 1/8 inch hardware cloth that I made to riddle my sand. It's just made out of a 5-gallon bucket melted to the bottom. There's a video out there on how to do that. I'll put a playlist out there so you can find all these easily. These I use for my risers to extend them up high enough, you know, to get enough flow into my my parts sometimes. And they're just soup cans with the bottoms, tops and bottoms cut out. I use these as ingot molds. A lot of people do. Just old muffin tins that my wife was discarding. And so you know, you can get them at thrift stores. They work great for ingot molds. Alright, so these I use to form risers and vents, and I can't remember, you got one that, I can't remember the one you pour in and then the one that rises on the other side, what the difference in the, I know the names, I just can't come up with them right this second, but you need different sizes, and these pretty much have met everything that I needed to do. It's just some cut-off broom handle, and these are just pieces of conduit. I use baby powder, talcum type baby powder. You don't want to use the cornstarch stuff, but as my separating to, you know, keep my patterns from sticking and keep one flask from sticking to the other. And then just some brushes, just some regular old paint brushes for dusting the talcum powder on and off. And then for mold manipulation, cutting sprues and stuff like that, I just use an old teaspoon. And then for pattern repair, sometimes I'll use, you know, an old butter knife to kind of push things back into place and stuff like that. I'm not, you know, just a real whiz at doing any of this, but if you look at my videos, I've had success that I'm proud of, and so, you know, you can do the same thing. I use aluminum foil to hold my, I use super washing soda as a degasser, just Arm & Hammer super washing soda that you can get at Walmart or the grocery store. And as a flux, I keep them in here so they don't clot up on me. This is just light salt, and you look on the back, and it tells you, let's see, where is it? Oh, it contains salt, potassium chloride, calcium silicate, magnesium carbonate. So that's the stuff you want, and that'll act as a flux. And I put about, to that crucible I showed you earlier, I put a teaspoon of both of those. And what I do is I wrap it in aluminum foil and then shove it down. So I've got it ready in a little packet. And then when I'm ready, I just throw it in there and plunge it up and down. And that does what I need it to do. This is just a small little bit of some of the patterns that I have used over the years. These are all made out of wood or MDF or something like that. I just recently started 3D printing, which made this just really a whole lot easier. And that's what I did on the stuff I was doing today, was from all 3D printed patterns. One last thing, this is my Muller that I use to kind of reconstitute my sand over time. Let me get you up there where you can see inside of it. And I built this. There's a video series on it. That's the inside of it. And I cast that aluminum wheel in there. Anyway, I hope this video has encouraged you to make some new things for your foundry, or maybe decide to go into doing some foundry work. Thank you for watching.